Hello my lovelies and welcome back to my channel. As I promised you in my last video, I'm going to sew up one of the clear vinyl strikes today, and I'm going to take you along with me on this ride. So I wanted to show you how to create quick and easy and fabulous project with clear vinyl or clear vinyl mixed with other bases for a super fun, super easy, beginner friendly project. And I've selected one today that doesn't even include any hardware. I mean, the one I'll do doesn't include any hardware. The pattern itself in its original form does, but I'm going to be modifying it quite a bit to make it even more beginner friendly. So for today, I have selected to use my clear vinyl strike off. This is the glitter clear vinyl strike off from Oh So Pretty. This is in the beautiful little mouse print. It's absolutely adorable in the regular size. And one of my favorite things to make out of clear vinyl is a beach bag. I find that clear vinyls are perfect for beach bags, not just for little backpacks. I know a lot of us have been sewing little backpacks with clear vinyl, and so have I. But for today, I wanted to do a clear bag for either the pool or the beach. And one of my favorite bags that I've made for the beach that I've used a lot, like a lot, was the Swoon Sophia. I did a sew along, sew with me video here on my channel for that one. I'm going to link it in the comments if you would like to follow that along to make one as per the pattern, with lining, with all the hardware, exactly as it's drafted in the pattern, because this is not what we're making today. I'm basically taking two pattern pieces from Sophia, just two pattern pieces. I'm not going to add any pockets. I don't need that for a beach bag. I'm not going to add any hardware. I'm going to modify the way the straps are made in the pattern. So I will give credit where credit is due. This is a Sophia pattern, but it will be highly modified, but to make it easier. So if you are one of those sewists that are fearful when you hear another sewist say, this is a modified so-and-so, this will be a modified so-and-so, but it's going to make it even easier than the pattern. A lot less steps, a lot less possibilities of error, and we're going to have a beautiful clear bag at the end that it's plenty big. I've made this pattern before, so I know the size is plenty big for what I need when it comes to going to the beach or to the pool. There's a lot of tote patterns out there that are on a smaller side, and I do encourage them to try for like a quick trip, or if you're not somebody that carries lots of things to the pool or to the beach. But I like big bags and I cannot lie, so this is my preferred size for a big beach bag. So this is what we're making today. I've also selected this pattern because it is 14-inch roll friendly, meaning the piece, the biggest piece of the pattern that's from the front and the back can be cut out of a 14-inch roll. Mine is a slightly bigger one because it's just a sample, but if you purchase the Oh So Pretty clear vinyl in 14-inch, you can still make this pattern. So I wanted to make sure that it's going to be available for anyone who might want to sew with me down the road. So let's get started. I'm going to start by first cutting the pattern pieces. Then I'm going to interface some of my base off camera with some woven interfacing, and then we'll sew together at the machine. Hopefully this will not be too long of a video. I've never made this mod before, but in my mind it's pretty easy, pretty straightforward, and you know how I roll. I like to try everything in front of all of you, so you know that it's okay to make mistakes and fix them. You will need your clear vinyl. You will need some solid vinyl for the base and the bottom of the sides. You'll need some lining. In my case, I'm using water resistant canvas. This is Ottertex. I'm not going to interface it. And you're going to need some webbing for the straps. As you can see, there's no zippers, there's no hardware, there's no extra accessories that you need to add unless you really want to. But since I'm not adding snaps, I'm not adding zippers, I'm not adding pockets, this is all I need. I'm also going to be using a little bit of Decovil Heavy for the bottom, just to make it a little sturdier. And that is pretty much it. From the pattern pieces that are included with the Sophia beach bag, this is Sophia by Swoon, I'm not sure if I mentioned this. You will only need two pattern pieces, the exterior panel and the bottom exterior panel. So the top and the bottom exterior panel, that's all you need. You don't need the lining because we're using clear vinyl. You don't need anything else, just these two pieces. So I'm going to start by cutting first the clear vinyl. And let me grab some pattern weights. Okay, and you need two of these. Okay, I am stopping right here, and then I'm flipping the pattern on the other side where I stopped right here, and I'm going to be cutting the second half. You can also draw your pattern on the vinyl, it will be a lot more precise, or you can print it twice and make one solid piece. I already had this printed from the last time I made this bag, so I'm just using what I have. But sometimes when I like to fussy cut and make sure that everything is exactly what I want it, I do print the pattern twice if it's one of those patterns that are done on fold, and just tape it together. So this is my front. As you can see, is a plenty big bag, and it's still going to have extra on the bottom. I love it. I love it. I think it's a great size. So I'm actually going to use that pattern piece just to cut the second one. And since the clear vinyl likes to stick to itself, I'm using that in my advantage. This print is so pretty. Alright. And now I'm going to cut the bottom part, and that one I'm going to be cutting it both in main and lining, because I am going to line the bottom of the bag, but not the side, so we can see that beautiful clear vinyl. Let's see if this is enough. Yeah, I think it will work. I'm just marking the fold to make sure I have it right. So I'm going to cut one lining, and then I'm going to use the lining as my pattern piece to cut the actual vinyl. And because I'm not adding any bells and whistles, any pockets or anything, you'll see how quickly this comes together. We will also need a little bit of this water resistant canvas at the end when we'll bind the top, because there's no lining, the top will be a raw edge, so I like to use some water resistant canvas to bind it and tie it all together. You'll see, super easy. Alright, and one last pattern piece and then we're done. That was all the cutting you need to do as far as fabric goes. I'm going to be using this blue seashell vinyl, also available at Oh So Pretty, and this is in stock, so it's ready to ship. And if you remember from my sew with me videos before, I am not a perfectionist when it comes to bag making. These are all for personal use. I am not stressed about it. I'm not worried about it. I'm playing by ear. So if you're looking for a full-blown tutorial that's absolutely perfect, this is not it. This is going to be sew with me. You can do it. You'll see that it can be done even as a beginner. Try and practice kind of a video. It's not a perfectionist video, that's for sure. Alright, that's it for the bottom. So you have a bottom main, a bottom lining, a front and a back cut already. If you're going to interface this with a woven interfacing, you will also need one of those. I don't know yet what I'm going to do. You will also need to cut with the pattern measurement that are given in the pattern. You will need to cut a base from some sturdy interfacing. I like Decovil Heavy, but if you don't have it, Peltex will work as well. Cut that base. This is it's just going to give it a extra sturdiness, because you'll be filling that bag with a lot of things, so you want to have that extra security. Okay, so you have that, and last but not least, we're going to cut the straps, and that is it. And for the straps, I did modify the pattern. If you go with the pattern straps, you will need some hardware because they're fed through the fabric, so you need some grommets, oval shaped grommets. I'm not about that life, so I don't have that. I'm going to make a modified strap, and for that I will give you the measurement that I'm using, because these are not in the pattern. And I'm going to cut two There it is. I couldn't find my webbing. For the straps, I'm going to cut two 49-inch long webbing. This is a 1-inch strap. I'm just going to cut two that are 49 inches. That will work for my frame. If you need to make them smaller or larger, you will need to readjust this or make them adjustable, but that requires hardware, and I wanted to do this project with no hardware. Just go sealing the edges. You won't see the edges, we're going to put them in the fabric, so don't worry about it. I'm just sealing it so it doesn't fray, but you won't see any of these edges. Alright, so you're done. You have your two straps, you have your bottom lining, bottom main, an extra Decovil heavy, you have two clear vinyl front and back, and you are ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and interface my vinyl just for extra security with some woven interfacing like SF101, and then I'm going to still have my water resistant canvas hanging around here, because we'll be using that to bind our top of the bag. Before we get to the sewing machine, let's make some prep work. So we need to mark where we're going to sew the straps first. So take a ruler, and from this corner, as you can see, the front and the back clear vinyl pieces have corners where the rounded part starts. So from that corner, horizontally, you're going to measure 5 inches and mark 1 inch from that 5-inch mark. Okay, same thing on the other side. So from that corner, mark 5 inches, and then 1 inch, which is going to be your strap. I'm using 1-inch strap. Can you see it here? This one, the 1-inch line. So I'm going to bring in my ruler just for guiding, just to make sure I'm laying it straight, and I'm placing my ruler so the bottom is lined up with the bottom that's straight. And I'm bringing in some double-sided tape that will help me hold this in place. If you don't want to have that double-sided tape in there, because it will stay in the it will stay stuck to the clear vinyl. So if you think you're going to be bothered by that, skip it and just use some sticky tape on top, and then you'll just remove it like painter tape. I don't mind this, so I'm just going to put it there, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Again, too long. I am so wasteful today. Yeah, maybe not don't remove the sticky tape before you add it on both sides. Okay, let's remove the sticky tape, and bringing one of your two straps, making sure that it's not twisted, you're going to lay it, and this is where I'm going to use this as a guide to make sure it's straight. I'm placing my ruler at the edge here, and because I'm using clear vinyl, the ruler kind of sticks to the clear vinyl. So again, using what you have to your advantage. I'm placing my strap right here. And again, this is not following the pattern directions in any way, shape, or form. So let's do the same thing on the other side. Double checking that we have not twisted the strap. The strap is laying nice and flat. Then I'm bringing my ruler to make sure that everything will be straight. I'm placing my ruler right where the marking is, and then the bottom. Now I'm laying the strap nice and straight right here. Beautiful. Again, the strap is not twisted. Perfect. So this is one. You can set it aside. You're going to repeat the same thing on the second top part. Again, 5 inches going in, and then add your strap all the way down. One more thing that you would need to do is take your bottom part, the lining and the main, after you've used your interfacing to fuse either woven interfacing if you're adding it, and the bottom part right here, you're going to go ahead and place them wrong sides together. So wrong sides together, the lining, the water resistant canvas, and this. And you're going to place some clips all around, because we'll be using those clips to baste this in place at the machine. So now we're going to move on to the sewing machine, baste this in place, and sew the straps on that we just use tape to hold on. Let's start sewing. So far we're going to be sewing in place the straps. I'm using an industrial sewing machine, but you can certainly do this project on a domestic machine. Just make sure that you use some water soluble stabilizer if you think that your machine will not like the clear vinyl. I'm going to link in the comments and the description of the video the Clear Vinyl 101 video that I made, where you can see and hear the tips that I gave you for using water resistant clear vinyl. Because in my mind, clear vinyl is really beginner friendly. Minimal lining, you don't really need to add a lot of hardware depending on the project, so I definitely encourage everyone to try it. So I've sewn one strap. You can see it better on the back. There you go. See, it's sewn. Just a simple rectangle. And we're going to repeat this step 4 times. So we did it once, one more on this side, and then the same thing but on the other side. And I'm sewing at about 1/8 of an inch away from the side of the strap. And I do feel like this reinforces the strap when you stitch it down all the way to the clear vinyl. Since it's a pretty large bag, you will be carrying a lot of stuff in it, which will make it heavier, so you need to make sure that it will be able to hold without tearing on the clear vinyl. So when you sew it all the way, it distributes the force right to it, so it's going to hold a little better. The pattern, as instructed, had like a grommet, so I would avoid putting a grommet for this function on the clear vinyl, so it doesn't tear. Let's do the same thing on the other strap. You'll see how easy this project is. Cutting this probably took us way longer than the actual sewing of the pattern. I didn't mention that I'm stopping with my needle down and pivoting right where we put that mark earlier. So if you find it's easier to transfer that mark on your strap, go ahead and do that. And again, if it's not perfect, it's still okay. It's going to be a unique bag that nobody else has. And you'll be asked a million times, where did you get it? Can I have one like that? And so on. Nobody's going to look at the minor imperfections. This is the clear vinyl in regular size, regular scale, but it comes in small scale as well. I love doing a bigger and regular scale, especially for bigger projects. But if you're looking into creating, let's say, little pouches, and you need a smaller scale, also Pretty does offer this print in clear vinyl and others as well, in a small scale. And this is the glitter clear vinyl. So not only is it clear, but it also has some glitter in it, which makes it super cute. But if you want the same print without the glitter, you can also have that. So this is what it looks like right now with both straps sewn on. Let's put that aside and grab the bottom part. Remember, we basted it together, so let's go ahead and baste this all around just for extra reinforcement. I don't recommend you skip this step. I do encourage you to follow through. If you're so super comfortable in your abilities, obviously you don't have to. You can also use some spray adhesive in between those two layers, but I prefer to do this extra step just for peace of mind. And I am basting at 1/4 of an inch because this pattern does follow a 1/2 inch seam allowance, which means I have plenty of wiggle room for error and to baste. Swoon patterns do have a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm going to be cleaning that up a little bit, the excess interfacing there that you can see, because I don't think I'm going to add binding on the inside. I'm just going to top stitch, and I'd rather not see that white part. If you want a cleaner finish on the inside, you can obviously bind it and it won't matter because you won't see it. I think I'm just going to add binding to the top. It's my bag, I'm not selling it. Again, if you're inclined to skip this step, at least use some spray adhesive in between the layers to make sure that they're held in place. I'd rather not worry about the pins anymore and just skip that and do this extra step. And again, this is wrong sides together. So this is the right side of the water resistant canvas, and this is the right side of the clear vinyl. So I'm going to go ahead and trim off the white part, just so I don't see it when I sew this. Make sure you don't trim through your stitches. And I should be okay. Again, I'm not going for perfection. I'm going for pretty. So, you want to go ahead and see how big this is. I told you this is going to be a big bag. It's bigger than the machine. Look at this. So I'm going to take one of the sides right now and place it right sides together with the long side of the bottom. And I'm going to add some pins. Okay, we're going to stitch this down with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, let me make that a little shorter because I had my basting stitch on. I like to sew with about a 3 stitch length. So this is one of the sides. Again, keep in mind, have a big sewing area because this is a big project. It's going to be a big bag. And now it's up to you how extra you want to be. You can use some binding right now for this side and bind it and make it nice and pretty. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to simply top stitch this down. This way the clear vinyl, when you see it on the outside, you can see the seam allowance on the clear vinyl. And I will show you in just a little bit, in case you couldn't see before. So I'm moving the seam allowance towards the bottom, so towards the vinyl. And I'm top stitching down. You will have that raw edge inside, so if that's something that bothers you, definitely add binding to that seam. It's not something that bothers me. I'd rather have my time and do it the easy way since it's my bag. But again, if you want a nice finished professional look, do add binding there. I'm stitching with about kind of in between 1/4 and 1/8. So not quite 1/4, but not quite just 1/8 of an inch for the top stitching. So now I can show you how it looks like, and you can decide if you want to do that or you want to use binding. Alright, so this is from the front. You see where I top stitch? Looks very pretty from the outside. From the inside, you can see the raw edge. So I'm going to melt this a little bit better, the strap, but I don't mind. If you do mind, you might want to consider cover this with binding. I don't. This is what it looks like from the inside. So you make an informed decision how you want yours to look and how much effort you want to put in. So let's do this, the same thing on the other side. Taking the last pattern piece you have, right sides together, and this is getting bigger and bigger. Aligning the raw edges. So the long side of the bottom with the front, top and back. Just putting a couple of pins to hold it in place. I am using an industrial, so it's just gliding through, but keep in mind if you're using a domestic that right now here you'll have a clear vinyl layer, a real faux leather layer, some interfacing if you've added it, so it can get pretty thick pretty quickly. So Make sure that you test your machine beforehand on some straps. See if it likes it, if it will sew through all this layer. If not, adjust it. Maybe use water-resistant canvas on the bottom instead of vinyl. Make it a little thinner. Work with what you have. Don't let not having a certain machine stop you from creating something pretty and something that you'll be proud of. But I think if you go slow, even a regular machine will go through these layers. Okay, I'm going to do again the same thing. I'm going to top stitch with my seam allowance going towards the bottom, so towards the blue vinyl. Oh mama, it's taking over. It is massive. But I told you I want a big bag for the beach. I wasn't joking. This is not a little tote. Beautiful. Oh, it looks so pretty already. So pretty. So at this point you should have a huge flat piece of vinyl that has two outer and a bottom stuck together. So now we're going to origami this into bag-shaped creation, because right now it's just flat, right? So we're going to place those right sides together. Put your straps inside, make sure that you don't catch them when you sew. So right sides together. Okay, and you're going to be matching the sides right here. You can see this side, right sides together, pin it in place, and we're going to stitch that down with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, just like we did before. Again, if you don't like the raw edges that you'll be seeing soon, you're going to use binding for the inside of the bag as well to cover the raw edges. I am not interested. I'm not about that life. So I'm just going to top stitch it on one side or both sides, I don't know yet. Okay. Let's see how much space I have. So right sides together. I'm starting from the bottom right now. Half an inch seam allowance. Just go slow where those bumps are, where you have that seam allowance, because it's very thick and then you're going straight into a thin layer, so you might want to help your machine a little bit. This is I don't know the name, hump jump, I think, that I got from Dead Oak Designs on Facebook. It's really cool. So I'm using that to make sure that my needle moves smoothly over that hump. And now again, it's up to you to decide what you want to do with the raw edge. You can go ahead and add binding to it, or you can be like me and not care. But this is what the raw edge looks like. So I personally, I'm thinking of just top stitching it, but it's going to be a weird angle to top stitch it, but not impossible. So you can leave it as is, you can top stitch it on one side, you can add binding to it. You have plenty of options if you don't want to have this raw edge necessarily like that. I might attempt to top stitch it. Let's see. And I might attempt to top stitch it with 2 rows, just by splitting the seam allowance. It may not be feasible for domestic machines, so keep that in mind if you do go ahead and attempt to do this. But again, the easiest way right now would be to just let it be. Just leave it the way it is. It's the inside of the bag, nobody's gonna know. I'm just going to attempt it to see if it works, mainly for my own trial. And again, I'm working with a huge bag, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Okay, trying to split the side open. You can use clear vinyl as well if you want, clear double-sided tape to hold the sides open if you want. You know me. I like to try things out and figure out as I go. So I'm opening up the seams, increasing my stitch length, and I'm going to try to do a 1/4 of an inch top stitch, see if it works, because I've used a 1/2 inch seam allowance. There's plenty of room here. We'll see if it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't, no big deal. It is indeed a very weird angle. And I'm trying to keep that side seam open from the inside. But I still didn't want to add binding. It might have been easier to add binding than what I'm doing right now. trying to make sure that the binding is, the seam allowance is split open, especially where that vinyl meets the clear vinyl. I might have peeled off more than I can chew. Let's see. Again, I'm leaving this in the video just so you know there's always solutions. Like I tell my kids, no stressing, there's always solutions. So since I had a hard time passing that clear vinyl part here, where the vinyl meets the clear vinyl, I had a hard time getting in there. I might just come from this side. Because see, it looks really pretty on the other side. So I kind of do want to finish this. But the bulk is a little too big, even for an industrial. Let's see if I try from here, from the back. Will it work? I think it will. I'm sewing from the bottom up now. Watch your fingers, okay? If you're attempting this, make sure that you protect your fingers. Had some thread stuck in the middle. But I did it. Never give up. I sewed the seam allowance on one side and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And it should be easier now because I don't have to hold my seam allowances. My problem was that I held my seam allowance open with my finger. Now I have one already stitched down, so I just need to worry about the other side. Okay, I'm going to attempt to stitch the other seam allowance towards the other side because I split them open. If you do both on one side, then it's only one top stitch necessary. I decided now would be a good time to try out a few things while I'm filming. Maybe not my brightest choice this morning, but hey, we live and we learn and we do this together. This is one of the reasons why I'm calling this a sew with me. It's not a tutorial. It's not let me teach you my ways. It's sew with me and keep me company and maybe learn something from what I'm doing or the mistakes I'm making. Yeah, it's a lot easier right now. I can go all the way because one of the seam allowances is already on the other side. Much, much, much easier now. See, I did it all in one shot right now. Super, super easy at once. It's all on one side. And there you go. I'm just trying to get this out to show you. Okay, so if you want to do this method, that is not easy, but it's pretty. So I finished that top stitching. So now this is what it looks like. On the side, that's the side seam, you have your center seam, and then you have top stitches on both sides. A much complicated method, but not impossible, as you could see. Just be mindful if you do top stitch, whether it's two separate top stitches or just one on one side. Be mindful of this area here where the vinyl meets the clear vinyl, because there's going to be a lot of bulk there. So what I'm going to do next, and I'll do that off camera so this video doesn't become too long, I'm going to take the other side, bring it right sides together, stitch on the side seam, and then top stitch, whether 2 rows like I just did, if I want to do that again, or just one on one side. I haven't decided yet. You can do binding to finish it nicely if you want. And then I'll meet you right back here to finish the bottom and give it a 3D shape. Alright my friends, I ended up stitching and doing the same technique, much easier this time around, on the side seam. So I stitched it down with 1/2 inch seam allowance. I split the side seam allowance open, and I did 2 rows of top stitching, and this is what it looks like from the inside. Again, you can do 1 row, you can do 2 rows of top stitching, or you can just use binding and call it a day. Now we have one last step to finish this and make it an actual bag, will be to press this that fits like a glove now and stitch it down. So you should have a hole on both sides where the bottom is and the side seam. So now we're going to create that 3D shape by pressing these two together. I'm going to put a couple of clips, and this is where I'm actually going to add binding, because it's too thick and too uncomfortable to top stitch on this side. I'm going to actually finish the raw edges with binding. So I'm going to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance for the bottom as well. And this creates that nice 3D shape. And to bind this raw edge, because right now you can see it has a raw edge, to bind this I just cut 2 strips of water resistant canvas that are 1.5 inch each. You might be okay with going with 1.25 inch or 1 3/8 as well. I just wanted it to be comfortable, so I did 1.5 inch because the seam allowance is 1/2 inch, and I want to enclose that whole seam allowance. So I'm just going to finger press this in the middle, very easy. I did I don't know, 7-8 inches, whatever scrap I had on my table. You want to make sure that it's bigger than this, pretty much. A piece that is bigger than 6 inches, because what I'm going to do right now, I'm just going to enclose that raw edge in the fold, and I'm going to top stitch it closed. And obviously I'm going to remove the excess afterwards. But this is just so I have no raw edge on the bottom. And water resistant canvas shouldn't fray on you, so it should be fine to just snip the excess off. And now it's enclosed. Let me grab my scissors and remove the excess. And And we're going to repeat the exact same thing on the other side. Yeah. So this is one side, as you can see. I've removed the excess. It looks really pretty. And you're done. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So as you can see, this is the bottom of the bag. This is a side seam. I'm going to press this down and it fits beautifully. Put a couple of pins. Well, pins, clips, you know what I mean. We don't use pins with vinyl, okay? Because they leave holes that are not going to go away after you take the pins out. Okay, I'm using 1/2 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to do the exact same thing to enclose that raw edge. If you want, you can trim that seam allowance down and make a smaller binding. And this is it, your bag is pretty much done. So I think I can count the number of steps with my fingers. Like I have less than 10 steps, I think, in this bag making project. Okay. Closing the raw edge. Adding more binding. And we are done. So yeah, you add the straps 1 step, you add the sides, the bottom part 2 steps, side seams, and this. It's less than 5 steps to make this bag. Because there's no lining. I love that about clear vinyl, that I don't have to use the lining. And because it's just a tote, a beach tote or a concert tote or a grocery tote if you want, because it's pretty big, I don't need any of the pockets. I don't need any of those bells and whistles that are usually in the lining. Well, this pattern actually has a pocket on the outside. If you want to add it, you can, but I wanted a super simple project for this dry off. Okay, so we are done. We have finished our bag. Let's turn it so we can see it, and then I'm going to finish this raw edge with a little bit of water resistant canvas, just because I want it to be extra pretty. So let's turn it first. It is a big project. It does require me to get off my chair. No, the other way. And let's turn this. For when you turn clear vinyl, if you see that you're having a hard time, just warm it up a little bit. Use a blow dryer to warm it up a little bit. This is a big bag, so the opening to turn it, like the opening of the bag, is pretty big. So I don't have a problem, obviously. But if you make like small project that require turning clear vinyl, just make sure you warm it up a little bit. It makes it a lot softer. It makes it more pliable and much easier to turn. This one is very big, the opening, so it has no issues being turned. Okay, push those corners nicely. Look at this beautiful corner. Ah, so pretty. And you've seen the struggle to do that top stitching, but now when you see the result, I'm super happy I did it. I like it a lot. I love how it turned out. So sometimes you may save time by skipping a pocket, and then you add time to your project by top stitching 2 rows of stitching on the side seam. But hey, win some, lose some, but this one is really pretty. I'm so happy I did it. Let me just remove this thread. Come on. And I'm gonna burn it afterwards a little bit. This is not sharp anymore, this snipper. Be careful when you play with fire. I'm just burning the thread because it's polyester, so it melts. Just so I can show you this corner. Tell me it wasn't worth it. Look at this beautiful corner here. Oh, the bottom of the bag is so pretty. And the front, obviously, but this is the beauty of that 2 rows of top stitching. Look how pretty. I love it. And it's really, really big. As you can see, it is mighty big. Okay, so this is what it looks like on the inside. Remember, I chose not to add binding where the clear vinyl meets the vinyl inside, but it doesn't look bad, right? I do have binding on the sides, but not at the middle. And I don't think it looks bad at all. So it is pretty cool. Let me go ahead and cut some double side, not double, cut. Go back. 3, 2, 1, go. I'm going to go ahead and measure this area just so I can estimate how much water resistant canvas I want to use for the binding at the top. Double it, add a little extra for wiggle room, and then we'll come back and we'll just add a little bit of deco binding at the top. You don't have to, but this, I really don't want this raw at the top. So I'm going to add a little bit of water resistant canvas so it matches the inside of the bag. You can also add bias tape, double fold bias tape, or some cute trim. It's up to you. I went ahead and cut a strip that was the width of fabric just because it was easier, and I know it's going to be bigger than what I need, of water resistant canvas that is 1 inch in width. So what I will do right now, I will fold this and I'm going to go ahead and pin it on the raw edge of the top, and I'm going to start from one side, but not exactly where the side seam is, because I want there to make like a little dart, so it fits beautifully in there, and it's harder to make a dart if you start there. So I'm starting about 1 inch on one side, and I'm just bringing in the water resistant canvas, fold it in half all along the edge. So now this matches the inside, it gives a little extra something. Again, you can use pre-made double fold bias tape for this step. You can use some trim. It's up to you. And you can definitely, if you're using cotton, fold it twice, press it, because it will be a lot easier to hold it in place. I'm doing some finger pressing and it's a little more difficult. So this is what I wanted to show you, where the two sides seam meet, there's like a little V like this there. So you will need to fold a smidge and make like a little dart, like a little miter corner just use your fingers to press and fold. I'll show you. Like this. Let me make sure the focus is right. Okay, so like this. You see, I just fold it a little bit where that seam is. Very easy. A few more hoops. When I get to the edge here, I'm just gonna leave it like this, unfinished, just because I want to make sure it fits perfectly, and I'll see that when I sew it. So I'm gonna leave it like this, see, this extra piece, and I'm going to start sewing where I started there. This is what it looks like pinned, and let's go ahead and stitch it down. The stitching area is pretty big because this is a big opening. If you're doing a similar project but a smaller bag, you might need to stitch from the inside. And I'm using about a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. This is half an inch when I fold it because it's a 1 inch. So I'm sewing close to the edge, but not too close that I miss catching this binding. So that's what I'm doing, about 3/8 of an inch. This is going to look so cute. Be careful when you get to that side seam to pivot on the other side. Oops. And make sure you're still catching your vinyl, because I pivoted and lost my vinyl. No big deal, I can just catch it again. Good thing I noticed this before I stitched it all. There you go. No big deal, everything is fixable. Okay, and when you get to the end, you're going to cut this about half an inch over and fold it in half an inch. This way we finish the nice edge. We finish the edge nicely. That's what I meant to say. And you are finished. All you have left to do right now is clip your threads, burn any threads you might need to burn, and double check that everything is caught in there. Beautiful, it looks so good. And what I like to do when I finish a project like this, I like to go ahead and take it to my iron. Just make sure you do not touch your clear vinyl with a hot iron because it will melt. And I like to give it a good press inside. So in there, I like to give it a good press because it also gets rid of any wrinkles from the bottom. Oh, this corner. But this is the finished bag. Beautiful beach bag, a beautiful beach tote, and I will show you how big it is. Let me just move the camera a little bit so I can show you on my body how big this is. It is one massive tote. So I am 5'5" for reference, and this is how big the tote is. Can you see? It is big, like this big, from shoulder to shoulder. So plenty roomy for a day at the beach or at the pool or even just grocery shopping. Super cute and super fast to sew. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, everything that I've used will be linked in the description of the video. The vinyl is available right now for pre-order, the clear vinyl. Look how pretty. The glitter clear vinyl. The vinyl I use for the bottom is the royal blue seashell vinyl that's available for retail right now, so you can grab some and use it right away. Again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and you're going to give this project a try, and I can't wait to see your creations. Talk to you guys in my next one. Bye!